Hello, all. Welcome to this new course titled Legal Essentials for Human Resource Management. Now, this is week one of this new course, and this session intends to provide a detailed introduction about this course so that you are well aware that over the course of 40 sessions and 8 weeks, what are the various content that you are going to cover through this extremely interesting and relevant course titled Legal Essentials for Human Resource Management. To give you a small overview of myself, my name is Dr. Amish Samalopanan and I'm an assistant professor at Nalsa University of Law. My expertise are largely in the area of organizational behavior as well as labor and industrial relations. My research focus is largely on the topic called as workplace dignity, which is an area in management and law which attempts to build dignified workplaces. Now, dignified workplaces are workplaces where every individual is given his due worth and recognition. I'm also interested in this new age work styles such as gig work, a platform economy, and also how new evolving labor codes and labor laws of the country are addressing these new age work styles. My personal philosophy is that we should use these management and legal theories to build dignified workplaces. I believe that's the end goal that we should all strive to, creating dignified workplaces by proper utilization of the wisdom that we derive out of legal and management theory and translating it into policies. Now that you know me, let's get to know the course in detail. Now, this is a course that will focus on the legal guardrails and principles that shape the day-to-day activities of an HR manager. Now, management traditionally focuses on efficiency and efficacy. And traditional management wisdom tells us to take decisions that will improve efficiency or efficacy. But we should not forget the fact that a business to begin with is a legal entity. And every human being who is working in a business is primarily a citizen of a country. And hence, the law of the land, every rights of the land applies to your workers too, applies to the employees too. Hence, if you're somebody who manages human resources, you should also be well aware of various legal provisions that governs while dealing with human resource. And this course is exactly trying to cover that gap. It attempts to provide HR managers, MBA and BBA students as well as professionals with strong understanding of labor law and employment laws. Because once you know these legal guardrails, you know these legal compliances that you are supposed to meet, managing human resources becomes a much more easier stuff to do. Additionally, if you are an employee yourself, you are a worker yourself, you will also know what are the various legal securities that you have, which is rightfully you can claim, which makes your existence at the workplace also much more worthwhile. In this course, we are going to cover everything and anything that starts from the drafting of employment contracts where the employment actually begins. From there to we will look at various wage provisions, we will look at social security provisions, safety provisions, industrial relationship, and what are the various provisions, conciliation mechanisms available, how misconduct happens, how termination happens, to full and final payment. So, in this 8 weeks, 40 sessions, I intend to cover the entire employment life cycle, put it in alignment with HR functions, and then see what are the legal compliances you need to meet. So, once you go through this course, you will be able to manage people and policies with much more confidence, fairness, and legal awareness. Now, why this course? What objectives do I intend to meet by delivering this course? First, of course, is to provide a comprehensive legal foundation for HR managers. And make no mistake, by HR managers, I don't mean just the people who has a title of HR manager. HR manager could be any human being who have to deal with human resource at a workplace context. You can be a business owner. You're managing human resource. I strongly recommend that you take this course, and I'm sure this course will provide a comprehensive legal foundation to you about how to handle HR at workplace. And another thing that I intend to do in this course is to connect labor law principles with HR practices. Often both these subjects are taught by two different faculties in two different silos. HR faculty will teach you HR processes, labor law faculty will teach you the various legal provisions. Now, this course attempt to cover both of them hand in hand so that you will have a proper understanding of how to make decisions which are compliant with the existing law of the land. Finally, it's a personal goal that I have. More members subscribing to this course will ensure that you are more legally aware, you have a acumen built when it comes to labor law, and that will naturally result in more fairer, compliant, and dignified workplace, which as I explained in the beginning, is one of the life philosophy or goal I have. To give you an overview of the course, it's spread across 8 weeks, and I have planned it in such a way that each week we will look into a fundamental human resource function, and then we will look at various legal provisions which you should be aware of while executing those functions. Now, the first week we will look at some of the foundational aspects of industrial relations. We will look into the introduction of the course. That's the first session. In the next session, we will look at the Constitution of India and how it empowers various labor related regulations of the country, and how it becomes the bedrock on which the entire castle of labor regulation and compliance is being built. In the third session, we will be looking at how labor laws has evolved over the years. So the history starts even from British era, even pre-independence era, it starts, and then to the latest changes that has happened in the laws. So we'll cover everything. On the fourth and fifth session, we will be covering some of the key definitions like industry, workman, employer, employee, industrial dispute. So all these terms, it's very, very important for us to understand the meaning of these words so that we are able to understand if it's not even industry, then a lot of provisions are not applicable in this case. If the person is not a worker, some of the social security aspects or some of the conciliation mechanisms are not applicable for this person. So it's very important for us to understand who is who and what is what, and that is what we are going to discuss on the 2 sessions remaining in the first week. In the module 2, we will look into the initial work stage, which is you're joining the job. What are the few things? So, of course, we'll first start by defining terms like what is work, what is employment, what is the difference between work and employment, what are the various types of employment, how is employment changing through these years. We look into all that. Then we will look into how to draft employment contracts. So there we look into a little bit of contract act. We'll understand what are some of the essentials in drafting employment contract. We'll also discuss non-disclosure clauses as well as non-competence clauses that we put in employment contracts. We'll see, is it constitutional, is it violating any rights, when all are these clauses applicable and when it is not. So all those things we will be covering in session 2. Additionally, we'll probably discuss about the concept of standing orders also, which we will discuss in detail when we go through the week 2 module 2. In the module 3, we'll talk everything about wages. Now, I asked one of my students what is employment, and his basic answer was that it is performing work in return of wage. So wage is very, very important when it comes to the whole work and employment. So we will look at various aspects like what is wage, definition of wage, various kinds of wage, and how various kinds of wage are defined. Can rights be waived off when it comes to wages? How to fix wage? What are the ways in which you can fix wage? How does it change from state to state, industry to industry? We will look into those. What are the various modes of payment of wages? That we will look at. What are the various employer obligations when it comes to wages? We'll also look into what are the obligations in comparison with non-wage laws also. There's some other laws that you should consider while determining wage. So all those aspects. Also, there are some diversity obligations that the employer has to follow. We look into all those aspects. Anything and everything wage is what we are going to discuss in module 3, sorry. In module 4, we'll start discuss about 2 fundamental pillars of employment relations, which is social security and workplace well-being. Now, in the module 4 and module 5, we will be discussing the social security laws and workplace well-being security laws in detail. So in the module 4, we'll start with defining what is social security, various definitions of it, and what are the key components of social security. And then we'll look into various laws, various aspects of social security like gratuity, provident fund, bonus, and how to calculate bonus. The next week we'll go into Employee Compensation Act in terms of some industrial accident happens. Who is liable to pay compensation? How much should be the compensation? All of those aspects are discussed in this act. We'll also look into State Insurance Act, Employee State Insurance Act, various provisions, various corporations that exist on the base of that act. We'll also look into Contract Labor Act, very important piece of legislation. A lot of this work that has been done these days are through contract labor. So we look into various provisions in that act. We will also look into Maternity Benefit Act as well as POSH Act. POSH is Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act 2013. So we look into various provisions on the basis of, or rather, what are the various redressal mechanisms. We'll all discuss in the module 5. In the module 6, I want to throw light on various contemporary issues in employment. So we will look at rights of gig workers, platform workers, if you're somebody who's not aware of the definition of these words, don't worry. We have a entire week where we would be discussing these topics: remote working, work from home, partial work from home, moonlighting. Now, why is this segment very important? Because a lot of these legislations, when it was drafted, these styles and forms of work didn't exist. There was no moonlighting, there was no remote working possible at that time. So, how are these new styles coexisting with laws that are drafted when these styles didn't even exist? Becomes a very interesting topic to explore, and it leaves us so much to interpret. Even though the latest employment codes that are coming in, labor codes that are coming in, have addressed a lot of these work styles, but it is very interesting to explore this further. In the module 7, we will look at the entire concept of industrial dispute and collective relations with worker employer. So we look at what are the various authorities according to Industrial Dispute Act. We will look into various ways of dispute resolutions. We look into rights of employees regarding wages while they are in strike. We will look into the concept of collective bargaining. We will look into the concept of trade unions, how trade unions come in into the picture of dispute regulation resolution. All those aspects we will be discussing on the module 7. In the final module, we will be discussing about misconduct and termination, which is the final stages of your employment. So, either full and final settlement, you just leaving the work, how the process of full and final payment has been done, what are the various components of payment that has to be paid to the employee when he is leaving the work. We look into all that. There could also be a misconduct that has happened by the employee. So we look into what is definition of misconduct. We look into various types of misconduct. We look into various disciplinary concepts that exist in law. We look into how to draft a charge sheet if you have to proceed an inquiry against one of the employees or against whom the misconduct has been alleged. We'll also look into the process of domestic inquiry, certain principles and procedures that has to be maintained while conducting domestic inquiry. We look into the impact of termination due to misconduct. We'll see the implication of it on various other aspects, like maybe on the wage or full and final payment. We'll look all that, and also we'll address some of the ethical issues that can happen while termination or layoff happens. So that's 8 weeks of intense study about the existing legal structure when it comes to managing employees or workmen. Now, who is my target audience? Who is this course designed for? Any person who is interested on the intersection of human resource management and labor law is a perfect candidate for this course. You are an LLB student who would love to learn a little more about labor laws. Of course, you are studying labor law as a course as part of your undergraduate program, but do you want to know how are they applied in workplaces in reality? How the actual intersection of this law happens with human resource management. Most welcome to subscribe to this course. Any BCom student, BBA student, MBA student, it becomes a no-brainer to subscribe to this course, given the fact that it will open up about the entire compliance machinery which revolves around human resource management. PhD scholars, faculties, industry professionals who would love to refresh their legal acumen while legal acumen regarding human resource management. You're most welcome, because we would largely be discussing about the new age labor codes and how it is different, what are the various provisions of it. So that will ensure that your knowledge is being updated to the most latest labor related content. So you can subscribe it if you're somebody looking to refresh your knowledge base when it comes to labor laws. Now, why is this course very relevant? I'll say that this is one of the very rare course that bridges law and management, where we will discuss human resource management from a compliance point of view and labor law point of view, so that it prepares the HR managers for compliance heavy workplaces. And in terms of outcome, you attend these sessions, you study the materials that we provide. I'm sure you'll develop the skill set and acumen to handle various legal, ethical, and human dimensions of human resource management confidently. On that note, I would like to conclude this inaugural session of this new course titled Legal Essentials for Human Resource Management. We are looking forward to 39 more sessions where we would be discussing multiple concepts and principles in detail. To give you a small recap of what we have done today, we have just went through the 8 weeks of course study. We have had a bird's eye view of what we would be discussing over multiple weeks of study. And from the next session, we will start looking into these concepts a little closer. In the session 2, which is the next session after this, we will look into how Indian Constitution powers various labor laws of the country. We will have a detailed study of the structure of Indian Constitution, and we will discuss in detail some of the provisions and articles in the Constitution regarding how it contributes to various labor laws of the country. So please stay tuned, move to the next video, and let's keep continuing this process of study. Thank you so much for your patient listening. This is Amish signing off.